Thinking back to Gen 7, I realized just how much was nerfed. It made me think then, I can't just talk about Gen 7, I have to talk about every nerfing competitive Pokémon. By the way, I am aware that Big Yellow has covered this topic, but he only scraped the notable ones. Here, I intend to discuss them all, with the exception of indirect nerfs like heavy-duty boots nuking Stealth Rock, and removed mechanics like Mega Evolutions, along with bans like Funbro. Despite this, I will inevitably forget something. Even with the help of my friends Sheeplaw, Stupidum, and Bowrier, our muscle memory simply isn't enough. That's why reading the comment section would be recommended, as I'll surely be corrected there. Also, simply listing the nerfs will be too easy, so I'll also state my opinions on them for a little extra spice, with me only not saying anything when my opinion aligns with the rest of the community. So, with that said, how about we get right to it? Going in order by name, the first RBY mechanic to be nerfed in GSC was Amnesia, which went from the equivalent of 2 comp mines to only raising special defense. Blizzard had an absurd 90% accuracy, which was then nerfed to an almost cruel 70%. Critical hits were once based on the user's speed, but was changed to a universal 6.64%. This could be considered an indirect nerf given how Pokemon like Snorlax benefited from this change, but I'd call it a direct nerf because of how valued speed is in Pokemon. I personally like this change, as slow Pokemon shouldn't be punished more than they already are. Fire Blast went from having a ridiculous 30% burn chance to a measly yet standard 10%. I find this change necessary, but I also wouldn't have minded seeing what it would have looked like in future generations. Freeze was basically a KO. You could only be thought out by being hit by a fire-type move with a chance to burn, and when fire types are as common as a non-obese person in America, it made it the most broken status in Pokemon's entire history. Well, Haze can thaw you out too, but nobody talks about that for a reason. Given how it was basically impossible to remove yourself from this immobilized state, it would be changed in GSC to give your Pokemon a 10% chance to randomly thaw out each turn, although it cannot move on the turn it thaws out. Along with this, all Pokemon are immune to freeze under the sun. While Hyper Beam is known for being useless now, in RBY, it was an incredible move. This is because the Fatal Recharge turn, which turns you into a sitting duck, can be eliminated if you KO a Pokemon using the move. This was changed later though, which turned this fun, high-risk, high-reward move into nothing more than a gimmick. The normal type was nuked by 2 nerfs. Firstly, steel types gave them another typing that walled them, and Body Slam was changed to now be able to paralyze normal types, which made it a lot harder for them to switch in. I'm glad this was done, as normal types were easily the best typing in RBY. Despite this, it's the psychic typing that's the poster child for RBY, and there's a reason why, as nothing beats it. That's why the dark typing was added in GSC specifically to nerf it, a change which I like a lot. In RBY, sleep could last up to 7 turns. A sleeping Pokemon would be unable to move on the turn it woke up, which basically meant that it would give the sleep user a free turn to put you back to sleep. Recognizing how stupid this was, GSC nerfed the mechanic to last up to 6 turns and allow you to move on the turn you wake up. Instead of having the special attack and special defense stats, RBY compressed them into the special stat, which is how something as broken as Amnesia was even conceived of to begin with. This was, of course, reverted in GSC, and while it helped buff some Pokemon like Snorlax, it mainly nerfed Pokemon. It's basically the critical hit situation again. I don't even know why special was a thing. It seemed like such a no-brainer to add special attack and special defense. Trapping moves didn't trap the opponent in RBY, they instead immobilized you, and given how stupid that sounds, they were changed from that to trapping moves in GSC. Thank God too, because I never want to see a Dragonite use Wrap again. Critical hits were nerfed from having a rate of 6.64% to 6.25%. The chance of thawing out of freeze was increased from 10% to 20%, and the user can now move on the turn of thawing out. I'm mixed on this one. On one hand, nerfing something as stupid as freeze yet again is a good idea, but the idea of thawing out turn 1 just doesn't sit right with me at all. Like, at least sleep guarantees you at least 1 turn of safety. Anyway, Sandstorm went from dealing 1/8 damage to 1/16. This is a rather obscure piece of trivia, and it should stay that way because ADV Tyranitar is already hard enough to deal with. Sleep now lasts up to 5 turns. Sleep Talk went from being able to call out rest to failing when rest is called out, practically killing the viability of most Rest Talk users, and thank God for that. In ADV, using beat up revealed your opponent's party, a mechanic so strong that every serious team required you to nickname your Pokemon because of it. In DPP, that aspect of the move was removed, and I'm glad too because I suck at creating names that wouldn't get me cancelled on Twitter. In Diamond and Pearl, Hypnosis was buffed to have 70% accuracy, but was nerfed back to 60% in Platinum in what might be the most cruel moment of all time. Recover went from being an anomaly with its impressive 32-inch PP decreasing to a size of 16. Shadow Tag no longer traps other Shadow Tag users, likely to prevent Why Not Stalwarts from ever happening again. Personally, I don't like this change because infinite struggle wars between Why Not dominating Ubers is probably the funniest thing ever. Explosion and Self-Destruct went from having 500 and 400 base power respectively to having 250 and 200. As a DPPOU stan, and therefore an Azelf stan, this change can go to hell. Freeze no longer nullifies the effects of Flash Fire. I know, it's irrelevant in every way, but isn't everything in this video? Magic Guard users actually get paralyzed now. I'm so glad this happened, as I can actually punish Clefable with status. Sleep now lasts up to 3 turns, which barely matters given the change of sleep mechanics, but we'll get to that later. Speaking of later, critical hits now deal 1.5 times damage instead of 2 times damage, a change I appreciate, as I hate losing entire games due to bad luck. The Fairy type was added specifically to nerf dragons, and that makes me sad. All they did was nerf a type by making another busted type. Like, dragons weren't even that broken. Just pack steel types. Or hell, ban the BS dragons. You know, like the Gen 5 OU Council should have done to begin with. Scald can now be used to thaw out a frozen Pokemon. Normal gems now give a 30% boost to normal type attacks instead of 50%. Electric-type Pokemon are now immune to paralysis, a change I think is necessary given the rise of glare usage. The weather-setting abilities Drizzle, Drought, Sandstream, and Snow Warning now last 5 turns instead of permanently. Given how much of a disaster Gen 5 OU is, this change was more than needed. Even though I will forever miss Permanent Sandstorm. Powder moves now have no effect on Grass-type Pokemon, which I like a lot, as incentivizing the use of such an underwhelming type is a nice buff. While in Gen 5, your sleep counter reset upon switching out, in ORAS it was reverted to how it once was. Various special moves had a base power decrease in ORAS. Given how much more powerful special attackers are compared to physical attackers, I think this change gets an undeserved level of hate. Realizing that steel types were too good at switching into things, ghost and dark types can now hit them neutrally. This change is a good idea on paper, but ghost and dark types have kinda been breaking the game over this near decade. Granted, that's mostly because of pursuit and removal, but yeah, I won't make this a Gen 8 rant. I've already done that several times. I mean, everyone knows that Gen 8 can go to hell. And ghost types are now immune to the effects of Arena Trap and Shadow Tag, which barely matters since the abilities are still busted anyway. Abilities with the 8 suffix, such as Pixelate, were nerfed to give a 20% boost instead of a 30% boost, one which was completely unnecessary. Burn now deals 6% damage instead of 12% damage. Since Burn is my favorite form of passive damage outside of Spikes and Stealth Rock, I think it goes to show how much this change saddened me. Confusion was nerfed from having you hit yourself 50% of the time to 25% of the time. And thank God, because the embarrassment I have to losing to a Lantern due to bad luck in DPP-OU is the worst feeling imaginable. A Pokemon's critical hit rate was nerfed even further from a 6.25% chance to a 4.17% chance, which feels completely redundant. Dark Void went from having 80% accuracy to a pathetic 50% accuracy, to which the entire community agrees was stupid. Destiny Bond now fails on repeat usage. I don't even know why this was changed. It's like having Sucker Punch fail on repeat uses. It's just ridiculous. It's stupid. I hate it. Gale Wings now only activates on full health, in an absolutely boneheaded decision. Like, Talonflame wasn't even that good in OU. Gengar had its once great Levitate ability replaced by the underwhelming Cursed Body, which makes no sense since Gengar can literally levitate. Paralysis went from decreasing your speed by 75% to 50%. I think this change was necessary, but it still sucks that Hippowdon won't be able to outspeed anything outside a Trick Room anymore. The second hit of Parental Bond went from 50% of the first hit's damage to 25%, and a change which didn't matter anyway, as Mega Kangaskhan was banned regardless. Dark types are now immune to the effects of Prankster, which feels like yet another unnecessary change. Sheer Cold was utterly obliterated, with Ice types now being immune to it, and the accuracy of the move decreasing from 30% to 20% if the user of the move is not an Ice type. Sucker Punch was nerfed from having 80 base power to 70 base power, which makes no sense to me. Don't get me wrong, it was a great move, but it wasn't meta-defining by any means. Thunder Wave is now 90% accurate instead of 100% accurate. With the nerfs already made to Paralysis, this was just stupid. Slash had its 150 base stats nerfed to 140. Additionally, its signature move King Shield now only decreases the opponent's attack by 1 instead of 2 upon contact. I don't like the base stat nerf, but the King Shield nerf at least makes it fun to fight against. Once Disguise is broken, the user now takes 10% recoil damage, a change which was unnecessary as Mimikyu wasn't even OU. Moody was nerfed to not increase evasion or accuracy, yet another unnecessary change as the ability was banned anyway. Terrain, instead of giving you a 50% boost, or in Misty Terrain's case a reduction in power, it now only does so by 30%. This change was necessary, but I personally love how broken Gen 7 is, so I find myself disappointed by it. If the lazy editing and inconsistent delivery of my lines didn't make it obvious, this video was rushed. I barely got it out in time, and it made me realize that I can't continue uploading weekly anymore. The weekly grind was fun, but with most of the scripts I write getting longer and school coming back to suck up my time, it's just not something I can continue. I'll still be uploading though. I'll be uploading every other week with videos that should hopefully be of higher quality than what you've been getting lately. Also, Pokémon voices will still come out weekly as the project takes a lower amount of effort to produce. I hope these changes manage to be exciting instead of disappointing, and with that note made, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.